It's been said of Nigel Mansell that no driver fought harder to get into Formula One, and few fought as hard once they got there. Quick, daring, aggressive and determined, he was one of the most exciting and successful drivers ever to grace the sport, and his heroic performances won him a legion of fans throughout the world. One of Mansell's most iconic moments occurred right at the end of the 1984 Dallas Grand Prix. We'll get to that shortly, but it was during qualifying for the race that he demonstrated his true brilliance with a spectacular and commanding lap to take his maiden pole. The venue for the United States Grand Prix of the season was the Fair Park, using a temporary street circuit that actually proved unsuitable for use. The combination of searing 40-degree-plus heat, coupled with friction from the world's fastest racing cars, saw parts of the track surface begin to disintegrate, so much so that sections of the circuit would need the asphalt replacing with quick-drying concrete overnight. The race was brought forward by several hours in an attempt to negate the ferocious heat. Even so, a track temperature of 66 degrees centigrade meant it wouldn't be only the tyres that suffered. The intense heat put paid to many a driver's race, with parking lots forming at the track's edge as one by one the cars succumbed. Only 8 would complete the gruelling Grand Prix, with Mansell's Lotus not immune. Breaking down on the final lap, he was forced to push the car to the line, the effort so excruciating that he fainted from heat exhaustion, a moment symbolic of the man's determination and commitment. Mansell's brace of seasons for Ferrari in 1989 and 1990 were a frustrating time for the Briton. Despite some impressive winning moments, his best championship finish in Scarlet was 4th in his first season. After mechanical failure took him out of the 1990 British Grand Prix, he shocked the world by announcing plans to retire at the end of the season.
I'm not going to explain, I'm just going to make a statement. I can tell you, as of this minute, Adelaide will be my last Grand Prix.
However, his old boss Frank Williams made him an offer he couldn't refuse to return to the British team. His best race of the season was at the Spanish Grand Prix, held for the first time at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. Needing to outscore his championship rival Ayrton Senna of McLaren by at least 4 points to keep his challenge alive, he qualified P2, a tenth of a second quicker than the Brazilian. But he lost out to a speedy Senna's sensational start, and before the end of lap 1, he'd given up a further place to Benetton's Michael Schumacher. However, Nigel had only temporarily lost his groove. Back on the attack, he chased down the future 7-time world champion, making his move around the outside on the damp part of the track to retake the place. Now right on Senna's tail, they went wheel to wheel on the pit straight.
Mansell pulls out alongside from the slipstream of Senna and he's right alongside him, 195 miles an hour. Senna looks across and says, "What on earth are you doing there?" But Mansell's not going to give way and he's through. Mansell through to second place, Senna attempting to come back, Senna almost off the road.
But it wasn't over. As both men pitted, the Brazilian got the jump, back on track while the Briton was still up on the jacks. Mansell would have to do it all over again. Demonstrating his determination and total commitment, he pressured Senna into a mistake and took back his rightful place as the Brazilian found the gravel.
Senna with a big spin as he came round and back onto the straight in front of the pitch.
Soon after, he was right on the exhaust of Gerhard Berger's McLaren, diving up the inside to take the lead, a spot he would not relinquish. And with Senna finishing down in 5th, the win kept Mansell's championship hopes alive for at least another round.
I think everybody saw that it was a very, very big fight, and Ayrton was giving no quarter and Gerhard was giving no quarter, and there wasn't much room on a number of occasions, but a great race for everybody, and a good race for me. I'm very happy.
For any driver, winning their home race is a special moment, and Mansell's victory at the 1991 British Grand Prix was very special, emphatic and masterful. The Briton took pole by over half a second to championship leader Ayrton Senna.
He has a good car, good engine. They are better than us at the moment as a package overall, and they got it together. They deserve to be on pole.
As the lights went out, Mansell's timing was just slightly off, and as he struggled to get his wheel-spinning Williams out of the blocks, the Brazilian got the jump and took the lead heading into turn 1. It didn't last long.
Mansell makes a dive inside Senna and he's taking the lead.
So unrelenting and outstanding was his power and prowess that soon there was clear daylight back to the chasing pack. A gap so wide that he was able to pit for fresh tyres and still emerge in the lead. On his 43rd tour of the Silverstone circuit, he bagged the fastest lap. And at the end of 59 navigations, the home hero's hat-trick was confirmed as he took the checkered flag.
Nigel Mansell wins the British Grand Prix for the 3rd time in his career.
And what of the Brazilian maestro? He'd run out of fuel on track. As Mansell completed a lap of honour in front of his adoring supporters, he spied the stricken McLaren, pulled up, beckoned his rival over, and promptly gave him a lift back to Parc Fermé. Nigel Mansell holds the distinction of being the last man to win a British Grand Prix at Brands Hatch. The race also marked the return of Frank Williams to the F1 paddock, 4 months after being paralysed in a road accident in France. The boss was rewarded with a front-row lockout for the Grove outfit, with Nelson Piquet on pole and Mansell beside him. Although Nigel was very quick off the line, almost immediately his transmission failed and he began to falter. Cars swerved around him and further back there was bunching into the first corner.
Race stopped after a start line accident. A very bad start for Nigel Mansell. Can this be his lucky day on the restart? He's going to have a second crack at it.
Although we're pretty happy that they've found the problem, we're getting into a car which hasn't been set up for me, and it's going to be trust to luck whether it's going to go or not.
Mansell got a much better start. He briefly lost a place to Benetton's Gerhard Berger, but soon had the Austrian's measure and was back into second and chasing down his Brazilian colleague. Under the pressure of Mansell's attack, Piquet missed a gear and the Britons sailed past to take the lead. The two Williams men continued to battle for the lead, and when Piquet pitted first, it looked like the undercut might work, the Brazilian flying on warm rubber as Mansell countered the move.
Piquet's going for it as they go down into the right-hander and paddock, and Mansell's absolutely on the racing line. There are no orders between these two. Piquet going through on the inside, but he's going to be blocked, and he has been, and Mansell holds the lead. Great stuff!
Mansell would go on to win the race, his 4th of 5 victories that year, a season in which the championship went down to the final race in Adelaide, where a dramatic tyre failure denied him his maiden driver's crown, missing out to Alain Prost by just 2 points. Mansell moved to Williams in 1985 after the Briton had endured 5 frustrating seasons with Lotus, during which his attitude and ability were often questioned by rivals and colleagues alike. Partnering Keke Rosberg, who'd initially been lukewarm about Mansell's arrival, the two proved to be an effective pairing, a fact witnessed at that year's European Grand Prix. Ayrton Senna had put his Lotus on pole and was leading the race from Rosberg, with Mansell back in 4th. When the 1982 world champion tried a move for the lead, Senna cut him off.
And off spins Rosberg, and into him goes Nelson Piquet. Piquet has stalled.
Mansell was promoted to 2nd place as a punctured Rosberg was forced to pit. Re-entering the race almost a lap down meant Rosberg was just ahead of Senna on the track. Feeling aggrieved at the Brazilian's earlier defensive move, the Finn blocked the Lotus, allowing his British teammate to close in and then pass at Surtees for the lead. Senna was then unable to get past the wily Rosberg, allowing Mansell to widen the gap. But the delaying tactics weren't needed for long. Mansell allowed his teammate to unlap himself and both pulled away from the chasing pack. By the end of the race, Rosberg had made it back through the ranks and into 3rd, as Mansell took a well-deserved maiden Grand Prix victory.
Nigel Mansell has won the Shell Oils Grand Prix of Europe. He is exultant, he is exuberant, and he's got every justification to be.
I've just got to thank the team. I mean, they've done a tremendous job. They put a lot of faith in me, and now I've delivered, and I've delivered in my home Grand Prix. Hopefully it will put to rest all the people that have been knocking me for so many years. Ciao, ciao.
1992 was Mansell's year. 14 pole positions, 12 podiums, including 9 Grand Prix victories. He was so dominant that he wrapped up the Drivers' Championship with 5 rounds remaining. There were many moments of brilliance in that truly dominant season. At Silverstone, Mansell's home fans were treated to a grand chelem, starting with one of the most incredible pole laps of the mustachioed driver's career. The Williams FW14B was head and shoulders above the competition that year. When coupled with the latest evolution of the Renault RS4 engine and a driver at the peak of his powers, it would prove nothing short of sensational. His pole lap was roughly 2 seconds quicker than teammate Riccardo Patrese and almost 3 seconds faster than their nearest rival, Ayrton Senna, in the Honda-powered McLaren.
I was in two minds whether to go out and try and even beat my time at 19.1 or 19.2, but I felt I'd give it another go. I mean, there's so many people come here today. I think it'd be a shame if I just sat in the pits. So to get in the 18s was, for me, I'll say it for myself, it was sensational.
Victory, his 7th of the season so far, broke Jackie Stewart's record as the most successful British driver of all time.
They're breaking ranks, the Union Jacks are waving, and Nigel Mansell wins the 1992 British Grand Prix in terrific style.
And the home fans' joy was unconfined, mobbing Mansell as he slowed his car down, eventually abandoning it at club and taking a lift in a transit van to avoid being overwhelmed by the ecstatic crowd.
What can you say? I've never experienced that in my whole career anywhere in the world, and I mean, they're fantastic, aren't they? It's just incredible. If I'm going to dedicate the most historic win, obviously in my career and in the history of Great Britain in Formula One, I dedicate it to the fans out there. They are just unbelievable.
Twice a runner-up in the Drivers' Championship with Williams, Mansell had endured a torrid 1988, where an engine supplier's switch, technical issues and ill health dogged his season. Apart from a couple of podiums, his greatest achievement that year was being the last driver personally selected to join the prancing horse stable by Enzo Ferrari, who passed away in the summer. And the great pioneer's insight was rewarded from the get-go, the 1989 Brazilian Grand Prix. Using the new John Barnard-designed Ferrari 640, the team were hoping to dispel the demons of the previous year, in which McLaren's Honda turbos had dominated. Mansell was troubled by gearbox issues in Hakkarapaguá, qualifying 6th, and both he and the team imagined he'd struggle to complete the Grand Prix distance. But, as it turned out, his battling performance in Rio would see him dubbed Il Leone by the Tifosi. His Scuderia teammate Gerhard Berger tangled with Ayrton Senna at the start, both drivers losing places and promoting Mansell to 3rd. A neat pass on his Williams replacement Thierry Boutsen saw the Briton move into 2nd place, whereupon he began chasing down his former teammate Riccardo Patrese.
Nigel, having driven for Lotus, having driven for Williams and won 13 Grand Prix, is on his way for Ferrari, gaining on Riccardo Patrese hand over fist.
Catching him on the long straight and using the slipstream to great effect, a daring passing move on the outside took him into the lead. Mansell pitted on lap 20 and again made it past Patrese, and their new race leader Alain Prost. But a steering wheel issue forced the British driver to pit a 2nd time.
And there is Nigel Mansell in the pits. He had the steering wheel off for some reason there. What on earth is happening? He's having a new steering wheel fitted.
5 wheels replaced this time, the Lion was back out and on the prowl, roaring past Prost for a 2nd time to again lead the race. And away he went.
Nigel Mansell has won the Brazilian Grand Prix, the first Grand Prix of 1989, the most exciting one we have seen for years.
I knew we would be competitive. Compliments to John Barnard and the 640 and the Ferrari team. I would like to dedicate the race win today to the late Enzo Ferrari.
Brilliance is often displayed over a season, a race, or even a lap, and sometimes it's revealed in a single move. At the 1990 Mexican Grand Prix, Ferrari were running 1 and 2 late in the race, with Alain Prost in fine form out in front. With former teammate Gerhard Berger bearing down on him, there was little Mansell could do as the Austrian made an aggressive lunge, muscling his McLaren, Mansell-like, into second. Nigel's dander was up and he hugged Gerhard's gearbox, searching for an opening. Through the S's they went as though joined together, corner after corner, the Briton hoping to find the opportunity to pounce. Flat out and wheel to wheel approaching the long Peraltada curve, Mansell went for it.
And Mansell going round the outside. Incredible! Up into second place. He's regained that second place. And now he's fairly rocketing away from Berger on the last lap in Mexico.
We're side by side, and I'd made my mind up that I was just going to go in there flat, and that's exactly what I did, and fortunately Gerhard lifted.
For all his success at Brands Hatch in 1985 and 86, it can be argued that Mansell mania really took hold at Silverstone in 87.
What does this crowd mean to you, Nigel?
I mean everything, just watch him. Thank you.
It began with another front row lockout by the Williams boys, with just a tenth of a second separating Mansell from pole sitter Piquet, the Briton having spun in his attempts to snatch prime position. At the start, they first had to fend off a rampant Alain Prost in the McLaren, as the Frenchman's lightning start saw him jump into the lead.
Prost leads into Copse. An absolutely meteoric start from the Frenchman.
But soon, both Williams drivers would teach the Professor a thing or two. His lead chalked off by Piquet, and then, caning it on the Hangar Straight, Mansell got past, to the delight of the home crowd. It would now be a dogfight between the teammates, who both intended to complete the race without stopping for fresh tyres. However, a dislodged wheel balance weight was causing Mansell vibration issues, and he pitted to correct the problem, emerging without losing second spot, but almost half a minute down on the race leader. On fresher rubber, Mansell went on one of F1's greatest charges. Over the next 30 laps, he took back all the time he'd lost and more, until he was right on Piquet's tail.
This is where Mansell will be looking to challenge. Piquet will hold the inside line. And Mansell's through.
His car, almost running on fumes in the final meters, spluttered to a halt seconds later. The delirious British fans broke ranks and dashed onto the circuit, engulfing their home hero in a sea of Union flags.
What can I say? I mean, the crowd won the race for me as much as I won the race. They were just truly fantastic.
And tonight, what celebrations?
You name it, we'll do it.
Nigel Mansell's greatest moment of brilliance came at the end of the 1989 Hungarian Grand Prix, a race in which, after his worst qualifying performance in years, it appeared he had little to no hope of success. Suffering drastically from understeer, which a change of setup between Friday and Saturday only exacerbated, he started the race P12.
I was very disappointed to be 12th on the grid, but then very pleased because I actually qualified on race tyres. We had a big problem on qualifiers, so at least we were in good shape for the race day, which is obviously the most important thing.
Never one to shy from a fight, Mansell got off to a flyer, making up 4 spots by turn 1. He was soon up to 5th and eating into the gap to the leaders. When teammate Gerhard Berger pitted for fresh tyres, Mansell was promoted to 4th, and soon found himself bearing down on the bunched-up leading trio, making a neat pass on Alain Prost's McLaren to move into the podium places. Then a bit of luck, as race leader Riccardo Patrese Williams suffered a radiator leak. McLaren's Ayrton Senna took the lead, with Mansell now in second and appearing menacingly in the Brazilian's mirrors. Leaving the chasing pack far behind, the two titans began lapping within milliseconds of each other, the Englishman keeping up the pressure through the tight confines of the circuit, as he searched for a way past the defending world champion. His moment came on lap 58. As the pair approached backmarker Stefan Johansson, the Onyx Ford driver missed a gear. Mansell was first to react, and with lightning speed he switched lines, slingshotting around both the slowing Swede and the boxed-in Brazilian. After that, there was no stopping the Briton, as he sped away almost 2 seconds a lap quicker than everyone else, his eventual winning margin over 25 seconds. It was a comeback worthy of one of F1's greatest victors, and a drive the Briton would call one of his best.
I think for me, it was a fantastic race. The first time in my career, I'll say it was an unbelievable race. Very extraordinary, and Ayrton had a little bit of bad luck with traffic, but it was super.